Tricia and welcome to my channel. I am celebrating 30,000 subscribers. So thank you very much to everyone who has subscribed, and thank you to all of you who are just now subscribing. If you're not, let me remind you, go ahead and subscribe by hitting that little red button. I'm going to be doing a project. I asked some of you in my community page to give me some suggestions of what I could do. I wanted to do something special. So I've got some suggestions here, and I've got a Sauda who is suggesting that I do a Halloween wreath with a skeleton and maybe one of the hats that I've done in the past. I've done a hat for, I believe I did one or two of them for Christmas, or one was for 4th of July. And I really like that idea, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be doing that. I don't know if it's too early for Halloween yet, but there are some stuff that is already being put out in the stores for Halloween, so maybe pretty soon, but I do want to do that one for sure. Now, I don't know if it's going to be a wreath or if I'm going to put it on a candle holder like I've done the other hats. So, okay, let's see. I had another one here that suggested I do a clock, and I can't find it. Let's see. Oh, so one of you wanted me to do a video on talking about chili peppers and salsas and spices and things like that. Now, I had talked to my father, I think it was last year we were talking, and he was telling me about this chili pepper compared to that chili pepper and this and that and so forth. And I thought, Dad, you know a lot. I think I want to do a video with you talking about it, and I can just translate what you're saying. And he was like, sure, anytime. But, you know, time just went by, and I just never did that. So I do want to do that one. I like that idea very much. Let's see. Oh, okay, so here it is. Lauren Risotto. Okay, thank you very much for your lovely comments, by the way. Thank you. I'm reading it again, and I'm just responding to her, even though I think I already said that. She said, could you make an inexpensive house-inspired large clock? And yes, I can. As a matter of fact, my husband and I were at Hobby Lobby this weekend. Excuse me, I'm not hearing through this ear very well. My own voice is inside of my head, so I hope you can hear me, and I hope that I'm not screaming either. We were at Hobby Lobby, and I saw this huge round farm-style clock. It had chicken wire in front of it. It was very pretty, kind of rustic, and I really liked the style, and I don't know why I didn't grab it, because now I regret it. And I went today because I said, if I don't see that clock to buy it, I'm going to see if I can buy things to make something like it. So, well, it's not going to be like it, but it's inspired by what I saw. The clock that I saw was huge. I think it had metal or wood around the edge. I don't even remember, but I do know that instead of like a glass facing, it had a chicken wire facing, and then of course the inside was just, you know, like numbers, just regular numbers, and the hands. And the chicken wire was really what I really liked about it. And so I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be replicating the little bit that I can remember, but maybe in a little bit smaller version, because that one was, I do remember being really big. Like I said, I went back today and they didn't have it. Otherwise I would have bought it. So that was a good excuse for me to say, you know what, I guess I'm going to go ahead and try and make something like that. So I've got myself a roll of chicken wire right here. That is what it looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and start showing you the supplies. Now my supplies are like, what? When you see them, like, how are you going to put that together? Okay, I'm going to show you, but first let me tell you what they are. I've got some foam board, and I think I only need one sheet, but I have two here right now. These I got from the Dollar Tree, the foam board. It was really inexpensive. They're only $1 each. Now the chicken wire was $6.99, but it's 2 feet by 6 feet, so it's a good price item there. I did get this large embroidery hoop. I wanted a circle, and I didn't know if I wanted it. They had a bigger one, and I thought, no, that's a little too big, because I wanted it to be at least the width of the foam board, and this was just right. So I went ahead and I grabbed this one. I almost grabbed the smaller one because I thought, maybe I need to do a smaller clock, but she is asking for a large clock, and I thought, you know what the heck, I'm going to go ahead and make it. If it comes out nice, great, and maybe I'll put it up. If not, I might give it away as a gift to someone. But anyway, I got this embroidery hoop because I needed something wood and round and to be able to trace it. But now I'm going to go ahead and use it in my as part of my clock, and I'll be showing you that. This was $7 as well, just like the craft metal and the chicken wire. And then I've got the clock workings right here, the movement. It just needs a 1 AA battery, and I've got that. Now this comes with a little, the hour, the minute, and the second hand, but they're really small, and because my clock's gonna be a little bit bigger than I thought, or you know, for this, I'm going to use these other hands, and I went ahead and I bought an extra package. This cost me $8. I used their 40% off coupon. This cost me $3.49, so you can just do the math of how much this is already costing. Now, I wanted to get some numbers. I thought I'd get a stencil, and I thought, well, I really don't need a stencil. I can just draw it. But if you cannot just draw numbers, get yourself a stencil for some numbers, or even like some stick-on numbers. I did find some really nice ones that were there where the clockwork items were, the supplies for that were, but they were like only about 1 inch, and I felt like my circle was really big, and I thought, you know, little 1 inch numbers, you know, spread out was not going to look very pretty. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and paint them on. So I did get some black paint right here, just some regular craft paint, and then I got some white paint because I want to paint the embroidery hoop white, the wood of it. And then I thought about, well, am I just going to paint the foam board, you know, that I'm going to put here? Do I just want it white? I thought, well, I could paint it, you know, paint it however I want. But I decided to go over by where the fabrics were, and I got some muslin. Got this fabric right here. I got a yard of muslin, and I really like this one because it's got some little speckles of brown in it. I don't think you can probably see that in the camera, but I really like the look of it. So I think I'm going to cover my foam board with this. I'm going to glue it on, and then I'm actually going to paint the numbers on there. Now, I did think about maybe writing like some lettering on it, like maybe put Farmhouse or Home Sweet Home or something. They did have stencils, but the stencils were another like $7 or $8, and I thought, do I really want to spend that one? I could actually just draw it on myself or use some stickers. So that's going to be my suggestion to you. If you can just draw it yourself, do it, not use some stickers. I did think about getting some fabric that had some Farmhouse theme to it, but it was just like way too busy, and I thought, you're not going to see the numbers, or at least I'm not going to see the numbers, and I really want this to be like an actual working clock. So I didn't want it just to be like a decoration. Otherwise, I didn't need to buy the motor. But anyway, I'm going to tell you what tools I'm going to use. I'm going to be using some brushes for my paint and some glue. I'm going to be using a straight edge to help me draw my numbers. And here I've got a pencil. Now this particular pencil, it happens to be a dressmaker's marking pencil. This one, when you write on fabric, it's got the little brush on the other side. You can actually erase or just wipe it off, and the markings come off. I have used it, and it does come off, but I don't really care if you see the blue because I'm actually going to paint over it with a black paint. But anyway, so just any pencil really, but this is what I'm using in case you're curious why my pencil looks a little different. It's the only reason why I mentioned what it is. Okay, so then I'm also going to be needing something to cut my foam board. I've got my large blade, I've got my X-Acto knife. Sometimes my X-Acto knife works really fine, well, I should say really well for cutting things, but because it's a little bit thick foam board, I might end up using this cutter. This cutter works great. I got this at the Home Depot. It's just a regular, you know, utility knife is what it is. I used it to cut laminate flooring, and it works great, so it's going to work on the foam board. And then I got some scissors to cut my fabric. I've got wire cutters to cut my chicken wire, and my imagination, you guys, my imagination and lots of hope and wishful thinking that this comes out okay. So if you're watching this video, it obviously came out okay. All right, everyone, let's get to creating this wall clock. I've thought about the steps in my head, but it might change a little bit. So let me put the camera down so we can see and get to crafting. All right, so I have this embroidery hoop, and this comes off just by unscrewing this. And actually, as I was driving home, I was thinking about how this is going to work, how I was going to do this and put it all together, because I had these other ideas of using multiple layers of foam board, and I decided that I want this larger ring to be used at the front of the clock, and I'm going to be using this at the back of the clock, even though at first I thought about using it at the front of the clock because I wanted to make this extra thick. But after thinking about the battery pack being at the back of the foam board, let me go ahead and grab that. When I thought about the battery pack being at the back of the foam board, it was going to be having a little bit of thickness to it because the battery pack is a little thick. It does stick out. So then I thought, well, how am I going to hang this on the wall? I'm going to need to put some little bits of foam board to kind of build it up, you know, so that it kind of matches the thickness of the battery pack, and also so that I can put something on it so that I can then hook it up on the wall. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll just put this in the back. This will also help build it up, so when my battery pack is here, it won't be, you know, necessarily touching, you know, it'll give me something to hang the clock with, and some space for, you know, needed here for the battery pack. I hope you understood that. When I'm putting it together, you'll see it again. So anyway, I have my two pieces here, and then of course the front one has this part here, and I thought, well, I kind of like that look of it. I like for it to have that look that, you know, it's an embroidery hoop, and this is what it got used for, you know, for this particular, you know, project. But then I was also thinking, you know, because it, you know, it has a screw here and it's going all the way through and it's already got a hole there. If I take the screw off, and let me go ahead and do that so I can tell you what I'm talking about. If I take the screw off, and if I had like a ring, you know, something here that I could put as a ring, and I wish I had thought about this while I was at the store, because I would have gotten myself a little metal ring that I could put through here, you know, big enough. So it looks like, you know, those clocks have a little ring on the top that you can grab on, so you can carry it or hang it somewhere. So I wish I had that, but I don't, and I can't think of what I have at home that I could use for that. So I'm thinking about using just some wire. I have a thick wire that maybe I can shape into a ring, or sort of like, you know, like a little ovally, because they're not always, you know, perfectly round. Sometimes they're a little, you know, ovally, the little bits on the top, and make it look like a clock that way. And then I'll just glue these two parts together. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm going to use my hot glue gun to help me have it put together like that. So those are things that I'm going to think about as I'm working along, and I'm going to see if I can find a solution. If not, I'm going to go ahead and put the screw back on there, because I do like the way it looks. I do like the embroidery hoop look. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to trace around, and let me go ahead and grab a regular pencil. I want to trace around the outer edge of the bigger loop, because I need to know how big to cut it. So I'm just going to trace around, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. Let me go ahead and stand up here, because it is moving around on me. Okay, it's right there. Keep it nice and tight here. And it's okay if I actually cut it up a little bit bigger, because once it's already put together and I've glued it down, then what I can do is then I can trim the board. So I have my line, and I know which one I'm going to follow, but I'm actually going to go just a little bit bigger, just to make sure that it is within the perimeter or the diameter of this embroidery hoop, which is the bigger one. Okay, we're not going by the smaller one, we're going by the bigger one. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this out with my knife. Now let me go ahead and grab my knife. I put it back down under here. Now, so I'm going to cut that out, but I'm also going to go ahead and paint these white. I'm going to go ahead and start just cutting, like I said, kind of on the outer, and then get this on here, and then just trim the edges. Now, I also thought about, like, when I put my chicken wire on here, it's obviously going to go on, laying on top of here, because, you know, the hands that are going to be in here, they're going to be moving, the clock movement, they're going to be in here. They need some space to move around. So I'm going to put the chicken wire laying on top of here, and of course I'm going to end up having to trim it as well, the wire. But then I'm going to have an edge here that's raw with wire showing. So I've actually got some rope, and I'm going to go ahead and use that to cover on top of here. And then I'll probably use it to cover the very edge of this. When you look at it from the side, the foam board, I'll probably use some of that to cover, so that it'll just look like it's sandwiched between these two loops. And when I get to it, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So let me go ahead and cut that, and I'm going to get my white craft paint, and I'm going to start painting both of these. This one's going to get painted inside on the outer edge and on the outside. This one I really only needed to be painted on the outer edge, okay? Because it's not going to show. So I'll be back once all that is cut, because it's really a boring process. And make sure you're cutting on a suitable top here. Don't cut on your nice table, or if it's an old table and you don't care, well then fine. All right, everyone, so the next step, before I go into anything else, before I go decorating my board here, is I need to make sure that my little clock motor works. Now, this is what came in the package. This is the clock movement, and it has this little part here that you can place on there, so that then when it's in the back of the clock, this will be the part that's facing the back. You can actually hang it from there if you want. So that's got a little hanging part right there, but it also adds some body here, some space to it, to give it some nice tight movement there. Tight fit, not movement. Okay, so then it comes with a rubber stopper. It comes with a little washer, a rubber washer, a brass washer. It came with this hex nut, a little cap nut, and a little what's called a minute nut. And then it's got your hour hand, the minute hand, and the seconds hand. Now, I'm not going to use these because they're really small for this circle. I'm going to use these instead. Now, I could have gone a lot bigger, but this is the size that I'm going to go for. So the way that you put this together is you have your little movement part here, and it will need a 1 AA battery. So I've got that ready. But I want to put everything together before I put the battery in there, because that makes it start working right away. And yes, I have already tried it. So what you do is you're going to put this little rubber stopper right in there. And then the next thing that you want to put is you want to put your clock facing, whatever it is that you've created to put in there. You want to slide that in there, or, you know, slide it from behind. I've gone ahead and I've already measured this, the diameter, so that I can choose where the center is, and I've kind of poked a little bit of a hole here, but I'm going to have to make it big enough where it fits this wider part here, this little metal part right here, not the white plastic, but the bottom part right next to this rubber washer. This thing has to fit through here. Okay, so once you've got that put in there, let's say we've already slid it in there, then we've got our little brass washer that would go, you know, it would be on top of here, because it's already on here. And then we're going to add our little hex nut, and that would just go screw down just enough to where it meets up to the board, whatever you use as you're facing. And it says not to over tighten it, so we'll just put it in there. Okay, so then the next thing that we're going to then put on here would be the minute and our hour and our minute. Now it says to put in your hour, and I notice the hour is just a little circle here, and then I noticed the minute has a different shaped hole, and I was having a particular kind of a hard time getting it in there, and I was wondering, well, how the heck does that work? And then I looked at the other one, and yeah, the original one that comes with it is shaped the same way, because this little part here has a little flat sides which fit perfectly into that. So you just have to look at that. So first you put your hour hand in there, and it's just going to kind of rest kind of wobbly on top, and then you're going to put this one in there. Now be careful with them, because they are very thin metals, and they you know, they can bend very easily, so you just want to make sure you keep these straight so that they're not, when they're turning, they're not like hitting each other. Okay, so now I've got that on there. So the next thing I want to do is I want to use this little tiny little minute nut, and let me tell you, it's not easy to put on there. And just also it says do not over tighten, and that just goes right at the very top part. See how it's lifted upward there? And that's where that goes. Okay, so now you've got two options. If you don't want to use the second hand, it has this little cap which would go on there instead of the little nut and the second hand. But if you're going to use the second hand, then this little second hand has this little bit of a brassy kind of little tubey bit, but it's also hollow, and there is a little bit in there where that's all going to go. And you want to position all these at 12 o'clock. I don't know if I mentioned that. So then you're going to put the second hand in there also, and just kind of push it in That's all it is, and then you don't need that part. We're going to turn it over. Oh, I just bent my little second hand here. And then we're going to add our battery. And as soon as I put my battery in, that second hand starts moving. See that? Okay, so that's what you want. And then you can, in the back here, it's got a little rotating thing that you can rotate so that you can put it at the actual time that you want it at. You know, just depends. It'll move the minute hand, and then once the minute hand has done a complete rotation, it'll move the hour hand as needed. So that's what you just gotta do, okay? So we're gonna take this apart now because I need to get it on this part here to make sure that the hole is gonna be the right size. So I'm just gonna take everything apart, and then I'll put it back together when I need it. Okay, unscrew that. I think I want to make sure I put these little parts into something so I don't lose them. Let's put them in here. I'll just put everything in here. Okay. Take everything apart carefully. And then your washers. And you can I'll probably just leave that one there like that with the rubber stopper on there, or the washer. Okay, I'm going to put these off to the side. What I want to do is I want to measure that little part here so I'll know how big my hole has to be. So I'm just going to use a little measuring tape here, measure the diameter. That is not even let me see, it's not even a ½ inch. It is a ¼ inch, okay? So my little hole here has to be a ¼ inch thick. A puncturing tool. I've already made a hole in there, but I'm just going to go ahead and make another one to go all the way through. And there, that makes that. A little hole in there. Let me measure this because this might just be a ¼ inch, and it is. So just get yourself something that's about a ¼ inch. Usually a drill bit helps. If you want to use a wood instead of a foam board, do that. But I'm using foam board because I feel like it's not that heavy. Okay, so I'm going to put this from behind just to make sure everything's fitting. And I want to make sure that all the little paper, everything, use this little bit here, is out of the way. As a matter of fact, I'm going to use my X-Acto knife. See if it's sharp enough right now because I've used this. And just to kind of, nope, help me peel away that little paper bits. Yeah, that's working if I just do it like that. I don't want to peel too much. Okay, just so those little papers are out of the way. Okay, let's put that away. Okay, so now that we know that this is the right size, we can put this from behind. Push it in. Trying to eyeball this from underneath it. There we go. See, but all these little bits, I don't want them there. All these little papers. Okay. So now we know, and I can peel those off as well, because remember, we're going to cover this up. So now we know that that fits fine on there. Let me go ahead and use that the washer and the yeah, and then when I put in that hex nut on here, which, you know what, I don't even see it in here anymore. I'll have to look for it. Okay, so I'm going to put that hex nut in there, and that's going to keep everything on to the motor part. Okay guys, I am blind. I don't see my hex nut. I'm going to look for it now. Alright everyone, no need to panic. I found my hex nut. That would then go on here. And all I'm doing really right now is I'm just making sure that the width of this foam board is not going to be too much for this, and it's not. And it says not to over tighten it, so I'm not going to over tighten it. Now I'm scared about these little parts because That one little screw there, little nut is important. Okay, so there we go. That's on there. There's the back of it. It is on there. So now what I want to look at is I want to see the part that I said was going to go back here, the embroidery hoop. And I've already painted both parts, like I said I would. This one I said I was going to paint the inside and the outside, and then this top edge. Of course, this top edge, after I thought about it, I didn't have to paint it. But I've already gone ahead and painted it anyway. And this one, because it's going to go behind, I only painted the outside edge. This is going to go in here. And I wanted to make sure that this was tall enough, yep, so that it clears this little bit here. This is, the embroidery hoop is actually a little bit taller, so it clears just fine. So I'll know that when this is against the wall, this is nice and flat against the wall right here, and it's not just hanging from here. And it's like, if I was to leave it like that, where I just left this on the back, this would have this bit where it could just go back and forth and, you know, move around. But I think that if I put this in the back, it'll give us a nice stability on the side. Now, I also mentioned that when I put these parts together, because this other part is going to be put here in the front. So from the sides, you're going to see the foam board. See that? You see the foam board right there? It's not perfectly plated. It's probably not going to be ever perfect, but when I get it all together, you're going to see this little foam bit showing through here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of this rope to then trim around just to hide that edge. Just that one little bit. It'll give it a nice little look. I'm also going to use the same rope on the front here, and I'm probably going to make like 2 or maybe 3 times it'll go around, because when I put that chicken wire on there, you're going to see the raw edges of the chicken wire where I've cut it. Okay, so before I get to that, I wanted to see if I could find a ring. Let me put these up to the side here. I wanted to see if I could find something that I could put here to kind of create a ring. Unfortunately, I don't have anything, and I thought I'd use some wire, but then as I was grabbing the rope, I thought, well, you know, the rope would actually go through the holes, through these holes. I could actually feed it through, bring it out the other side, and I could actually make a little loop, you know, like that with my rope. That would be pretty to hang it from. But then I also have this other one, this nautical rope that I have left over from, actually I bought this at the Dollar Tree. This won't go through that little hole though, but I could just, you know, gather the edges and glue them down really well, the rope, so that it doesn't separate, and cut them so they're level, and then just hot glue them, you know, to these sides here, and make a little loop. But I probably won't even hang it from it. I'll probably just make a little loop that just looks decorative on the top here, and then I'll just hang it from the back here, from this edge here on the wall. I think that'll be okay. Okay, so let's get to the next thing that we want to get to, and I think it's going to take a while. It's not only the chicken wire, but also putting the fabric on this foam board. So I'm going to put all my pieces here on the floor. So I need to take this apart, and I'm going to take my fabric that I have here, and I'm going to want to cover the front here of this foam board. So I'm just going to cut a piece of fabric that's big enough. Let me get all this fabric unfolded here. Okay, so I'm just going to spread it out. I'm going to put this on top, and I'm just going to cut, just roughly cut. I'm going to put this as close to the edge as I can. About so much. Okay. Okay. And I think that's good. I'm going to make a little mark right here for myself. Cut that piece out badly, but it doesn't matter because this is going to get cut into a circle. Okay, so now we get this leftover piece of fabric. We can use it for something else. Fold it up nicely and put it away later. In the meantime, we have this one. And we want to go ahead and glue that onto here. Once we have it glued, we're going to look for the little hole and then cut a little hole on it as well. Okay. If you want to cut the hole before you glue it on, let's get it on there. Make sure it covers all the edges. There we go. If you feel like you want to cut that little hole first, you make sure you do a nice little job on it. You don't want to cut the hole too big because then you don't want to see the white. I'm going to just mark it with my pencil, make a little circle like that. Pull this off now. So I've got a little dot that I made with my pencil. Do you see it there? A little dot right there. Okay. So now, because I said remember that pencil erases, so don't worry about that. Okay. So now what I want to do is I'll take my measuring tape right here, and I want to make sure that it is about 1/4 inch, and as a matter of fact, is just a tad little bit bigger. And that's fine because that little brass washer, or yeah, the little brass washer is going to go covering here. So it's gonna cover a little bit of the fabric because it's a little bit wider. But I'm going to cut within that little circle. So all I got to do is just kind of get it from the middle and make a little tiny little cut. And then just cut your little circle out. Okay, so I'm going to do that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get my little tiny scissors for this job. I just cut a little rough dot there. And I'm going to try and cut a nicer little hole there. So give me a little bit of time because I want to take, I don't want to do it too quickly and then make a mess out of it. So I'm just going to do it slowly. Now we'll be back. Okay, so I've already gone ahead and I've cut as much of the little hole as I can for now. I don't want to cut it too big. So I want to go ahead and align it with the hole right here. The one that I have here. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some pins, or maybe I don't have to. Just spread it out nicely. If you have to iron it out. I'm too lazy to do that. Okay, I'm going to take my glue and the brush that I chose to spread that out with. What you could do is you could take some straight pins and poke on here to hold it down, but I'm going to just kind of fold it in half right where that little circle is. Now I'm going to go ahead and just open the whole cap here. Okay. You could actually water this down like Mod Podge if you want to put a little bit of water and glue in a little cup. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue all the way around this area here. And then just push down on it, make sure that's adhered on there. And then you're just going to work slowly outward from where you've already glued. Just start putting some glue, bring out the fabric, press it down. You can do the other side. It's glued up to there. So just get some glue. And make sure you brush that glue on, you know, nice and flat, that you don't have any little lumps. And then just glue that down. And then just work your way. You can go over to this side now. You can do a bigger area than what I did. Okay. Pull the fabric, make sure it's not, you know, folded there. Not too. You don't want to pull it too much. You don't want to pull on the threading the grain of the fabric. You don't want to stretch it out. You don't want to cause little bubbles. Okay. So I'm going to continue doing that until I've got it all glued all the way to the edge, and then I can go ahead and go around and trim off the fabric. All right, everyone. The fabric has been glued all the way to the edges. And I'm letting it dry really well before I go and start trimming my fabric, because I want to make sure that it's dried there on the edges. But in the meantime, I've gone ahead and I've started making some markings on here. I took my straight edge ruler and I've marked down the center, and then I've gone ahead and I've done another faint line here with my pencil. Get little crossings there. Okay, and then what I've done is I've marked from the edge here, from the bottom edge here on that line, I've marked up to 4 inches, and then at the 1 inch I made a little mark. So I have 3 inches here to work with so I can make my number. So I made myself a 6 right here. And then I've gone ahead and I've done the same thing over here, where I've measured from the very edge, from the 4 inches right there, and then at the 3 inches, so that I know that right here I have 3 inches to work with. So right here I want to do a 12. So I'm just doing some faint lines with pencil. A 12 right here. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to mark in, but my number needs to be standing. So right here, because I'm going to mark in about 1 inch right here. I'm going in 1 inch because I don't want my number to be any closer to the edge. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark at half of the 3 inches is 1.5 inches long. So the 1.5 inch, I'm going to put it on the line here, right there. Let me get a little closer to the edge here. 1.5 is right on that line. So I'm going to mark up. So I have 3 inches of space there. And now I know that I can work my 3 right here. And I don't want to go any closer than this little marking that I made over here. So just kind of lightly with a pencil, draw your 3. And I think I'm only going to do those numbers, like the 3, the 6, the 9, and the 12. Let me make my 1 a little bit straighter. Oops, I went too far. That's okay. And then I'm going to do the other number over here. Mark in 1 inch so I don't go any closer to the edge than that. 1.5, 3 inch space. The little circly bit of my 9. Come down to that 3 inch mark, and then just make my little loop for my 9. Can you see that 9 right there? I'm just drawing them very roughly. The 6, the 3, the 12 is going to be upside down, but there's my 12. Okay, so now I can go ahead with my black paint and paint these numbers in so that everything can dry all at the same time, the glue and the paint that I'm putting over it. So I've got a thin little brush and I've got my black paint. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I will be back. The next step is to get this mesh onto this hoop. Interestingly enough, it comes like this, and then it is actually folded right around here. It's like folded into 3, like one this way and then another that way. So I'm actually going to take this portion, because it's wide enough, across right here and here, and I'm going to cut along right on this fold right here. Okay, I'm going to cut it all the way and I shall be back. Alright, so I have cut the adequate size, and I'm just going to stretch it a bit so that it is nice and spread out so these holes aren't like all crunched up. Okay, and this is wide enough for my hoop, for this one here. But before I start putting this on here and trimming and stuff, I need to make sure that this is closed up and it's not going to pop open on me. So I'm going to take some regular floral wire, a nice long piece here, and I'm going to feed it through, and then the other hole. Instead of putting that screw that it had before, I'm going to do this, and then right inside I'm going to put glue. Put lots of hot glue in there. Okay, now to align this, pull on the wire. Just pull on the wire so it doesn't get caught, folded up in between. And then push the two pieces together. Any glue that's seeping out the front, just remove it. Turn it around and just take the wire. Pull it as tight as you can. And then twist it together. And this will keep it together while the glue dries. And I can go ahead and trim excess and then just fold this downward. Okay, nice little pieces, I can throw them away. Okay, now that this is now on there and it's not going to open on me now, I'm going to take the chicken wire and I want to pull it tight over it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this upside down so the chicken wire is laying flat on my table, and I'm just going to fold it like that so that I know that it's pulled as tight as I can pull it. I'm kind of liking this idea of just folding it over like that and then just kind of maybe bending the little wires and grabbing it onto here instead of putting hot glue. So let me see how that would work out. But I need to start trimming some of it because it's obviously too much. But I think I'm going to do a little bit at a time. I'm going to give that idea a taste test. A little trial run. So I'm going to trim some of this wire here, and then I'll worry about how it's coming across over here. Okay, so if I trim some of this, let's get that off of it. Come on, honey, let go. There we go. Now I'm probably gonna have to trim these a little bit more, obviously, because they're not, they're a little enclosed bits. So if I was to take this and fold it inward, does that make a good grab? I think it does. So let me start trimming it some more because this is too much. Now check it before you trim it. Fold it over so that you know that you're not cutting too much and also not cutting like enough. So just be careful. Do this part slowly because you don't want to poke yourself. Because we got some real sharp edges here. Okay. Yeah, this is gonna work, you guys. Just folding it over like that, because what I'm gonna end up doing is this bottom edge, because this is the bottom. This is the one that's the part's gonna be facing forward. So this mesh is actually just wrapping around it, and then wrapping around it again. And this part's actually gonna get glued down. So these little bits will actually be glued to the face of the clock. So this will work out, and I don't have to, instead of putting glue here and trying to trap these little edges and cutting it right along here and then putting that rope, this is going to work out. But you got to make sure that you're pulling it nice and tight. I'm just kind of measuring, like, okay, this is where I'm going to bend. Okay? Let's see, my needle nose pliers. So that's another tool you might need. Get that in there. I still got to figure out this part right here, okay? Still got to figure out how I'm going to do that. But this is nice. Okay, I'm going to continue doing this, and then of course I'm going to trim off where it's obviously, you know, too much. And I'm going to be back when it's all done, and I will figure out. I'm probably just going to trim it. I'm going to pull on this one. Let me pull on it now and bend it back into this. Almost like staplers or staples. Not staplers, but staples. Okay, this one I'm going to cut it right here, and I can pull that bit. And then what I can do is I'll just put some glue right there. And I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bend them and then push them inward right here. And then from when I turn it around from the inside, I'll glue these bits down so they won't move. And I'll have that little edge like that on here. Okay, so this is what I'm doing. I'm wrapping it around. You can see some parts where I've already bent it over. I haven't done that little part there because I have to trim. And then over here I've got a lot to trim. So that's what I'm doing. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, so I'm back and I have finished putting all the mesh on here. I had a little bit of glue here where I decided to push it through the front here rather than wrapping it around all the way up here at the top. And some little spots here and there, I put some glue to hold down the wires that were maybe a little short, you know, coming around on the other side. They're a little short, so I put a little bit of glue. I can see here where, now this is going to get glued down anyway, so this was just to make sure that they didn't pop off while I'm moving it around. But anyway, this is already done the way that I want it. So I'm going to go ahead and set this part aside. And now I want to work on my clock face, but first I have to trim this fabric all the way around. That's where I'm going to cut that off. That looks pretty cool. Okay, so now we want to put the thing about this also is when I put the glue on there, it kind of warps it a little bit. So it's better not to actually paint it because that would have been even worse. So anyway, that's that. Let's get our clock workings here, our parts, and we want to use this ring as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put this ring, excuse me, on the back side. I want to get this on here. So I need to see. Now this is going to fit kind of inside of it rather than on the very outer edge because this was a smaller ring, and remember I used the outer one to do the measuring. Okay, I'm just going to put lots of glue so it goes underneath, but then also, oops, on the inside. And because it's this board got a little warp, it's a little hard. Excuse me. It's a little hard to get it to rest like level on it. So I'm just going to do the part that's resting on it. This is where I can maneuver it a little bit to make sure it doesn't move around on me. So I'm trying to get this on here. Once I get this side dry, then I'll go ahead and do the other half, because right now when I push down this lifts up. So it would make no sense to try and come around and glue over here when it'll just pop upward. So now that I've got it holding on to everything, this means I can now put this in here and I don't have to worry about it like wobbling around when I turn it over, you know, because then it'll just be resting on this part. It'll just be all wobbly and moving around on me. But now that I've got it on here, it's all nice and still, and then I can put that other part on top. But first I have to build the clock, because once I put that, you know, that other piece with the chicken wire on it, I can't get in there to do the little hands. So look at that. That's gonna look cute. I want to make sure that I also get this part right where the 12 is. So I want to make sure that I put it right there. And it's not perfect, guys. There's some parts where I see little bits where you might see the light coming through the edges, but I'm just gonna maneuver it as best as I can and glue a little bit at a time when I actually get to this part. But let's go ahead and start putting the clock together. So this part, like I said, it has this little bit here where you can hang it from, and then it's got the rubber stopper, so we're going to go ahead and put that through. Grab it here and just make sure that little bit of fabric, let me go ahead and trim a little bit, because I don't want those little hairs, little threads keeping me from putting that hex nut on there. So just trim those off. I'll get my little tiny little scissors to do that. Okay, let's try this again. I also want to make sure this part here is facing upward, and I wasn't thinking about that earlier. So I'll do that. It should be right there. Okay. Let's get that first, the brass bit here. Another little thread there. Let me flatten it down. Okay, now we can put that hex nut. Screw it on. Now they said don't over tighten it. So I think that's good enough. I don't want to turn it anymore. One more. There we go. Now it's nice and firm on there. I'm not going to hang it from there, so I'm not going to worry about that too much. I still want it to be kind of straight. There we go. Okay, so now I forgot the sequence of the items. So let me go and take this long one, this one, this, and I know I'm going to need this little nut right here, and I wasn't going to use that. Okay, so then the first one that goes in is the hour, and you want to point it towards the 12. This got bent a little bit earlier. Got some glue on my fingers. Let me get that off. Okay. I'm just trying to straighten it here a little bit. I'm laying it to see if it lays flat. Yeah, okay. So then we're going to take this one and just also to the 12, and then we get that little tiny nut. Okay, this also says not to over tighten it, so okay, let me put this little second hand also. Push it in. Let's get that battery in the back and see if everything turns the way it should. Okay, Okay, there's that second hand. It's moving. And then we're going to want to set the time on it. So for now, that's good. The foam board got a little warped, so it goes off the edges, but that's good. It's still good. Okay, so now we want to put the other part, but I wanted to put that rope on it. Now I'm going to do it now. I wanted to put this rope here, and I said I wanted to do it like kind of decorative. Let me cut off. There we go. And then I'm going to cut off over here also because the ends are coming apart and I can't seem to get them back. So what you're going to do is you're going to take some glue in between them and glue it so they don't spread out. Okay, so now that I've got this glued, I'm just going to cut to make sure I have a flat surface here. Same thing over here. Okay, now I can add plenty of glue there. And I'm going to hold it there just a little bit. I want it to look like it's coming out of that little hole, so I'm just going to push some of the little bits, little fibers of the edge there, of the rope, into it. And I'm just going to worry about the way it looks on the front, not the back, just so that it looks like it's coming out of the hole. Okay, now I'll do the other side. The other side's a little smaller, so I'm not going to be able to do. Get glue on the edge there. There we go. I'm just kind of pushing it in there so it just looks like it's coming out of the hole, but it's not really. Okay. Now I wanted to take this, and this was going to go on the edge here. Let's see. Should I do it anyway? Do I want to give myself extra work? I was going to do this anyway, but then I discovered this little way of just getting this. Because if I do put it on the edge here, I'm going to have to go like 2 or 3 times to cover this edge really well. And because I'm already putting it down here on the edge of this part, I think that's enough rope, so I'm not going to do it. Okay, I want that to dry. Okay, so now let me put it on top of there for now. Bring it over. Okay. I'm just afraid that this hour hand isn't going to move because there we go. Okay. Now we want to put this guy on here. So it's not going to be easy because it's not perfectly round. I kind of want to turn it up on the other on its side, but no. Okay. Yeah. It's not perfect, guys. I'm not surprised because, you know, I did it kind of quickie. So you do it a little more carefully. Okay, so I'm going to go and start gluing it because I need to. And I'm going to, like I did the other side, I'm going to glue part of it first. Let that dry. And then go over to the next section, okay? I'll be back once I've got all this little edge glued down, and obviously I have to do some little shimmying back and forth here and there because it's not perfect. Okay. All right, everyone, I finished putting all the rope that I'm going to put around the edges to finish that off so that you don't see the foam board that sticks out. And it kind of makes it look like it's more even than it actually is. I think it looks great. I think it turned out really nice. Let me hold it up so that you can see how it looks. All right, everyone, here is my wall clock. I hope this is satisfactory, that you enjoyed watching me make this and it inspired you to make your own clock and maybe do a better job at it. I still think it looks great. I think it's going to look really neat hanging on the wall. I'm probably going to hang it from this part back here so that this can just be kind of resting in this kind of a shape. I really like that. It's going to look really nice on my wall. I think I'm going to put it in my kitchen. Got to fix the time on there. That's all I've got to do. I got to do a little adjusting to the hands. I realized it's a little loose, so they keep swinging around. So I'm just going to reach in there, unscrew it, and then screw it back in and make sure that it's the way that it's supposed to be. All right, everyone, I'm going to give myself a big old thumbs up. I hope you too will give me a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to leave a nice comment down below. Thank you to everyone for having allowed me to reach 30,000 subscribers. I couldn't even say it correctly. Thank you very much to everyone who has subscribed, and thank you to those who are deciding to subscribe right now and in the future, of course. Make sure you hit that notification bell. I have videos every Tuesday and every Friday, and I sometimes have a weekend vlog as well. So check that out, share on your social medias, and as always, enjoy.